booked a ticket on every mode of transport to find out which one gives you the best gaming experience. Because when I'm traveling, I always want to play on my Switch, but on some journeys, that's just not possible. There's no leg room, my arms hurt from holding it, and there's never anywhere to charge it. So this got me thinking, are there better charging options on a train, more leg room on a plane, or more tech on a bus? Which is leaving very soon, so we should probably get on it now. This bus cost me $6 for a 30-minute journey. So I got my Switch out and we set off. I'm going to be rating each one of these vehicles on 3 things: the comfort, the tech on each of these vehicles, and most importantly, how travel sick I feel, because I get incredibly motion sick. It probably wasn't a good idea to make this video, actually. Starting with comfort, we had a bit of legroom, but just not very much. The seats themselves were pretty comfortable though, and I was convinced they were Italian leather. Definitely Italian leather. And because we were at the front of the bus, we got this amazing massive window that let a load of natural light in, but it also let something else in. It's quite hot, and it looks like someone has projectile vomited onto the ceiling, so it doesn't smell great. Now in terms of tech, there is absolutely nothing. I mean, how am I going to, I don't really know how I'm going to charge my Switch here. So I actually got the Switch out and started playing it for a bit, hoping that I also wouldn't be sick on the ceiling. That would be a little bit embarrassing. So it was all going well. I was enjoying playing my Switch in handheld mode until I think one of my Joy-Cons is just broken. Now I would just put it up, but the stand on my Switch, yeah, it's a little bit broken. But I might have something for that. For each vehicle, I will be bringing one piece of tech to make my gaming experience better. So this is the Dobe Switch Grip, and because the stand on my Switch is broken, this massive stand is going to help out quite a lot. I'm about to find out if this is going to be a good idea or not. I'm not quite sure it is. So my aim by the end of this video is to have completed Mario 3D World. Not quite sure how I'm going to do that. So far, better than any gaming experience I've ever had in a car. But I may have spoken slightly too soon. So they go down. And this was just the start of the problems. Slide in. Oh, is it going to go that way? Yep. I don't really know how I'm meant to play when it's all the way over there. Please. Oh my. So the bus has to go down. Everything is going wrong. The trees are hitting the bus. My Switch is gonna smash if we keep sitting here. So I think it's maybe time to try a different seat on the bus because we are on an empty bus. Apparently nobody takes the bus anymore. So we headed to the back of the bus and we found something that we really weren't expecting. There are chargers on the bus. However, they don't work. They're completely broken. We can't charge anything with them. We have found some more tech on this bus though. There is a screen on this bus. Not a screen that you can play video games on. It just tells you where we're going. So also, not great. And with only about 15 minutes left of the bus journey, I really needed to get on with playing the game. But the combination of how bouncy it was at the back of the bus and just how hot it was just wasn't treating me very well. That journey was interesting. Hello mate, how you doing? Hello, famous YouTuber here. Yep, heard of Rantad? Yeah, that's me, yep. In terms of comfort, the bus was actually all right. At the front, we had a lot of legroom. The only thing that ruined it was moving to the back, having no legroom at all, and the bus just bouncing absolutely everywhere. I don't think the bounciness is going to get any worse than that in any other vehicle. So for comfort, I give the bus a 5 out of 10. However, the tech on the bus, yeah, that was pretty bad. USB chargers that didn't even work, and a screen that you couldn't even play games on. What's the point of having a screen then? So unfortunately for tech, the bus gets a 1 out of 10. But do you know what was better? I didn't feel travel sick once on that bus. Despite all the bouncing and sliding about, I felt absolutely fine. So that gets a 10 out of 10. And the Switch tech I bought along for this made this journey incredible. I could use the stand on the back to sit back and relax and just play the games, despite it sliding about a little bit. So the Switch tech for this one gets a 7 out of 10. So out of a total score of 40, the bus gets 23. And now all that's left is to find a way home because the bus has just dropped us in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, it looks like we might be walking. Let's head back. So after trying and failing to get a lift back, I walked over to our next vehicle. This is a car, obviously, and it's the next vehicle that we're going to be trying out. So this car journey was technically free,
and also 30 minutes long.
Comfort-wise, there is not a lot of room. I think we actually had more room at the back of the bus.
But I do have to give it to these back seats. They are weirdly comfortable and definitely less bouncy than the bus.
In terms of tech, there's just nothing here. There's even less than on the bus, which I didn't actually think was possible. No chargers, no screen to play the games on. It's not doing well so far. So we'll play with the Switch for a bit. We'll see how we feel. Hopefully I don't absolutely vomit everywhere. I don't feel good already. My stomach's already turning. The movement of the car and the movement of the character, that's not making me feel good. I feel like I have to hold it here just so I don't get super ill, which hurts my arms. Which leads me on to the bit of tech for this vehicle. This bit of tech is going to make us incredibly comfortable in the back here. This is a switch holder that goes onto the back of the chair. I do have to assemble it though. I don't know how well that's gonna go.
But after struggling a little bit, we got there.
Okay, that is ridiculously cool. And then if you want to show it to the passenger next to you as well, you can just go, hey, look at my Switch game. So this should hopefully make me feel less sick, or at least reduce the strain on my arms.
But then I had a pretty stupid idea, actually.
So I've decided that if I wasn't feeling sick enough already, playing Mario Kart in the car will somehow make it better.
What could possibly go wrong?
Oh, it's horrible because the motion on the screen just really doesn't sync up to the car at all. My brain is freaking out right now.
And after almost vomiting quite a few times, we made it to the end of our journey.
Oh, no, that was... Yeah, that wasn't good. I hated every minute of that. Give me a minute. That was actually awful. I'm more motion sick than I think I've ever been in my life. In terms of comfort, there was no leg room. However, the seat was fairly comfortable, so I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. In terms of tech inside of the car, there was no chargers, there was no interesting screens. It was literally just me and a seat, to the point where my Nintendo Switch literally died by the time we'd finished filming. So I'm going to give that a 1 out of 10. In terms of motion sickness, I feel terrible. I genuinely feel like I could vomit at any moment. So I'm going to give it a -5. That is how bad I feel. But once again, my Nintendo Switch accessory saved the day. It was actually brilliant. It stopped my arms from hurting, and if I didn't get as motion sick as I do, it's a really good product to buy for your Nintendo Switch. So I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10. So the car gets a 6 out of 40. But luckily, I don't have to walk home this time. I've been left in the dark. It looks like I'm walking home again. Every time!
So I took a walk to our next vehicle, which
is a train.
This train trip cost me $15 for a 1-hour journey. Or was meant to.
So let's get on the train. Yeah, well, I think we'll have to wait for the next one. We've got half an hour. I have to stand in a train station for half an hour.
So I tried to book some new tickets, but the ticket machine was very old, and I'm not really sure if I did this right at all. And then I just sat there for 30 minutes on my own, doing absolutely nothing. Until the train arrived and we got on it.
Comfort-wise, the seats are pretty nice. They're not the comfiest in the world. Definitely worse than the car, and oh yeah, a little bit dusty. But one thing it has over all the other vehicles that we've been in so far is a tray with a lottery ticket on it. And oh my God, you've won the chance to subscribe. There we go. This is quite frankly horrible. I have to crane my neck like this in order to play at all. Can't even see the screen. There's too much shine from the window.
So after playing for a bit and probably permanently damaging my neck, I'd had enough.
This is incredibly uncomfortable. There is no leg room. I'm literally having to crane my neck all the way down just to see the Switch, which is making me feel incredibly motion sick. It feels like being in the car again, except this time we're going backwards.
And just as I was about to look at the tech on this train, I heard the ticket inspector coming, which would have been fine, except I had no idea what I was doing on that machine earlier. I might not even have the right ticket.
I thought the worst thing that could happen in this Nintendo Switch video would be that I couldn't finish Mario 3D World. It might actually be that we're getting fined on a train. Let's find out.
Check your tickets and that's it, please.
Yes. Sorry, I've got both of them.
No worries, mate.
Oh, I've got the wrong ones up.
Look at this face. This is the face of a man who thinks he's going to train jail.
Thank you.
Amazing, thanks so much, appreciate it. We didn't get fined.
So with that out of the way, we went to find another larger seat to see what the tech was like on this vehicle. It turns out there were 4 separate USB ports and 2 full-size plugs, so this gave me an idea.
Because of the plugs on here, I really think this next bit of tech is going to elevate our gaming experience. This is a portable monitor. I think I can get a full Nintendo Switch setup on this moving train. I haven't tested this. I'm not quite sure how this is going to go. Not only do we have a portable monitor, we have a little Switch dock. Let's hope the plugs work on this. Otherwise, this whole plan just isn't going to work. Oh, God. Oh, no. It's not going in.
It's all over. It's not going to work. I bought all this tech onto a train, looked like a massive idiot, and it's not even going to work. What? I was plugging it into the wrong hole. Oh.
I was trying to put it into the USB port. Yeah, okay. That in there. That is charging, so that is a good sign.
And after plugging all the wires in,
Has it worked? This is elite. This is so sick. When they said the Switch was portable, I didn't think they meant it was this portable. It looks so nice as well. This is better than the Switch screen. Like, this is such a high quality monitor. I feel like it can't get much better than this. The crazy bit is this monitor looks better than my TV at home. So why wouldn't I just book a train ticket every time I wanted to play Mario?
so I got back to gaming and had a couple of thoughts about how sick I felt.
If anything, I'm feeling less motion sick now than I was playing it handheld. And I think that's just because of the bigger screen. The only issue is the plugs are under there, so if someone was sat in that chair, you'd have to awkwardly just ask them to like move their legs apart while you plugged in their Switch. Hi, you're right, can I just plug my Switch in there? Yeah, see, this is just really awkward, isn't it? I just died, I have to start the level all over again, which is absolutely setting me back. This may be the best gaming experience we've had so far, but I am so far behind. I don't really know how I'm going to finish this game. I'm going to have to absolutely grind it on this train and on the next vehicle. This is going to be tight.
But at that point, we've reached our stop and I had to get off the train.
Okay, so we're off the train, and at the end of a very empty station, there is absolutely nobody here. So let's start with comfort. The seats were not very comfortable and incredibly dusty. I think there was probably 20 years of dust in these seats. And just to make it even worse, to start with, I was actually traveling backwards, which didn't really help with comfort or the sickness, but we'll get to that in a little bit. The fold-down tables would be a nice touch if they weren't completely useless. They were dirty and the angle of them was just completely wrong. However, when we moved to a table seat to create the full Switch setup, the comfort did get a little bit better. The seats were still terrible, but at least now we were driving forwards. And the table itself was in a great position. No more craning my neck anymore. I could just look at the screen and it was perfect. So because of the good and the bad, comfort gets a 5 out of 10. The tech on the train was actually pretty good. We had 4 USB ports and 2 full-sized actual plugs, which is pretty insane. The only problem with this was that I had to very awkwardly reach under somebody's legs and plug the Switch dock in. So for that reason, tech gets a 9 out of 10. Moving on to sickness. To start with, I was feeling terrible. There were multiple points in that journey, going backwards, craning my neck, where I had to stop myself from vomiting. But when we moved, it was much better. The bigger screen meant that I didn't have to crane my neck anymore, and going forwards really helped a lot. So for this reason, sickness gets a 7 out of 10. And finally, the tech I bought absolutely made this journey. The monitor was better looking than my TV and more portable, and being able to have a full Switch setup on a train is a pretty crazy experience. It really turned this train into a first-class experience for me. So for that reason, the accessory I bought gets a 10 out of 10. That means the train gets a score of 31 out of 40, which is our highest score yet. And now it's time for the final vehicle, and we're going international on a plane. And I really don't want to miss this one because it's a plane and they're very expensive.
This flight is a 2.5-hour flight from the UK to Spain, and it cost me £200. So I sat down and I couldn't wait to see what I got for my money. And before I even started rating the comfort on this journey, I decided to get my piece of tech out first, because I had brought with me a Switch 2, which was great. except it was already down to 89%. So with all that out the way, let's look at the comfort of the plane. Starting with legroom, there wasn't a lot of that. You had to put your bags under your seat, so I couldn't really move. But you know what? The seats made up for that. They were pretty cushioned and actually quite nice to sit in. These fold-down tables were brilliant. So much better than the ones that just didn't really work on the train. We got ourselves a magazine with some overpriced food in, which I will not be buying. An armrest that went up and down, a cup holder that didn't work and actually almost broke my Switch, and then we got a sick bag, which to be honest, I could have done with that in the car. Hopefully, I won't be using it on this flight. So, with my noise-cancelling headphones on, we took off, and I started playing Mario 3D World. I completed a couple of levels and then realised not only was there an empty row in front of me, but there was also an empty row to the left of me as well. So of course, I moved over there to give myself a bit more space, and the comfort went well up. But there was a huge problem.
The Switch 2 is the perfect piece of tech to bring, but I am a little bit worried. It's running out of battery very quickly. I'm going to go away here for your Mario 3D World here, so hopefully it doesn't die. We'll just see. I'm going to go to the toilet now.
So to distract myself from my Switch slowly dying, I was excited to have a look at the tech on this plane. There was basically nothing. Unless you count the light and the fan and the little assistance button, which I'm definitely not going to press, there was nothing. I was hoping there would be some sort of plug socket so at least I could charge the Switch, but it looks like that's not going to happen. So I spent the next half an hour grinding out Mario 3D World, hoping to get it done. I got to World 4 and the Switch went down to 49%. Which is terrifying. More terrifying than that was the turbulence that we hit at this point during the flight. You can literally see how bouncy the plane was on this shot. It was moving like mad. In fact, at one point they said you can go to the toilet at your own risk. That is terrifying. And after a bumpy 15 minutes, I wasn't feeling great. So I spent my life savings on a Coca-Cola and locked in for the last hour of the flight. We made it to World 5 with 18% left on the Switch. This was getting ridiculously close. And then I saw land. We were flying over Spain. We did not have long left. So I completed World 5 and 6 and managed to get to the last castle on the final world. But we didn't have enough stars to get into the castle. I frantically went back through all the worlds, trying to get as many stars as I could with the last 20 minutes of the flight. But just before we landed, the Switch died. The plane touched down. It had made it unsuccessfully. So, let's rate the experience.
And so, we have landed. So let's start with comfort. The seats were comfortable enough, I guess, but they were very, very damaged, and they did start hurting my bum about 2 hours into the flight. When I moved onto the empty row, the legroom was amazing. If I wanted to, I could have just laid completely flat across all the seats. And finally, I had this fold-down tray table, and unlike the one on the train, it actually worked really well. So I give comfort a 6 out of 10. Now, moving on to tech, there was absolutely none. Well, unless you count the fan and the light and the call assistant button, but I absolutely don't. So tech gets a 0 out of 10. Moving on to motion sickness. Now, motion sickness was all right until about halfway through the flight when there was insane amounts of turbulence. But because the turbulence only happened at the end, I give the motion sickness a 7 out of 10. It wasn't too bad at all. And finally, the tech I bought. The Switch 2 is the perfect handheld console to take with you. After struggling a bit playing on the Switch 1 for the last couple of transports, the Switch 2 fixes all the problems I have. The better stand that you can now tilt anywhere, the bigger screen, and the fact that I can now play most games at 120 frames a second wherever I am is absolutely insane. So the tech accessory I bought for this journey gets an 8 out of 10. So overall, the plane gets 21. And so the train wins, but most importantly, I got to finish Mario 3D World with this view. Yeah, I don't think that's too bad.